Episode 4 picks up right where Episode 3 left off, with Megan trying to figure out why the hell Cassie is there. Cassie explains that she deciphered the message and it said to come, but Megan says no. The message wasn't to show up to me. I'm not the Queen of Long Island. I was asking you to bring the key to our friend Cherry, who works at the Long Island Strip Club. She tells her that the key belongs to a lockbox that she used to stash evidence against the North Koreans. She wants to use it to try to make some kind of deal because she doesn't know how much longer she can honestly stay safe. The door then opens up and that Asian woman that was dancing with her in her apartment shows up. Megan introduces her to Cassie and her name is Charlie. And Charlie has heard a lot about Cassie, so she's very excited to meet her. Charlie runs a bunch of tuna fishing boats out of Nova Scotia and sells them to the black market. Cassie thanks Charlie for keeping Megan safe, and Charlie says, that's okay. She's a pretty special lady. I have a pretty big crush on her. And then she walks away. So Cassie definitely thinks that maybe in Iceland, Megan plays for the other team, but Megan says no, all we do is dance. Megan goes on to explain to Cassie that she also has a bounty on her head, $500,000 to whoever gets her to the North Koreans. And there's a man from North Korea that hunts her. He's in the area and he stops by the bar every night, which is why Megan has to hide in the back. Cassie realizes that if this guy is in the area, they've got to get Megan out of there really fast, and she tells her, I have a plan. But Megan says, no, me and Charlie have our own plan. We're going to kill him. Every night he comes in and orders the same drink, so Charlie's just going to poison him with mushrooms. Too much of that and it kills you. They all of a sudden hear the door open and they know that it's the North Korean who's hunting them, the guy named Hawk that Shane told Cassie about. Hawk comes in, sits down, Megan hands him the drink, but right before he goes to sip it, Cassie's phone goes off. Hawk gets suspicious that somebody else is in the bar, so he goes to check, and there's Cassie and Megan just standing there with their arms up. But before Hawk can do anything, he gets stabbed by Miranda Croft. Cassie needed Miranda's help, so right before the flight left to Iceland, she texted her. Cassie is floored that Miranda came out. She figured she would send a business associate or somebody else. And Miranda tells her that she just got bored being the boss. It turns out she likes the chase. Miranda instructs Cassie to pat Hawk down, get his ID, and then she calls up the getaway vehicle. It's Cecilia. And Cecilia is pregnant, so congrats to her. But their plan gets changed when Hawk's friends show up looking for him. It forces them to go out the back, and as they're doing so, Miranda gets shot in the leg. It's the same leg she got shot in about a year ago. To get away from him, they hop on a bus that's headed to a lagoon for tourists. This will at the very least buy them some time. On the ride over, Miranda and Cassie get caught up, and Cassie tells Miranda about this double back in the States who's committing crimes as her. In the middle of her conversation, Cassie gets a phone call from Jenny. Jenny was the one who called when Hawk was in the bar that tipped Hawk off to someone being there. Cassie thinks it's a true AA emergency, but Jenny just wants to ask her if she'll come on her podcast, which Cassie has no interest in that and hangs up. They then arrive at the lagoon, but they don't even have time to enjoy it because the North Koreans are hot on their tail. Miranda calls up Cecilia to find out why exactly the North Koreans are still on them, and the answer that Cecilia gives is an honest one. She's got a baby on the way, and the bounty for Megan is way more than she gets paid. So Miranda, Cassie, Megan, and Charlie are going to have to come up with a backup plan. The women run into a sauna where they're cornered. They have nowhere else to go. And as they're being held at gunpoint, Miranda pops from around a corner and starts attacking the North Korean. It's a real team effort, but they're able to immobilize her and get away. Miranda is able to secure them a helicopter to try to get out of there. But right as they're about to get on it, Cassie gets a phone call from Shane. Shane apologizes for how he acted with Cassie, but explains that the stress of not being able to close this case is getting to him. The real reason he called, though, was just to make sure she's okay. And she says, yes, I am okay. It's complicated right now. And he cuts in and says, if you're ever in any trouble, you know you could just ask me, right? And Cassie says, yeah, if I was in trouble, you'd be the first person I'd call. Shane tells her that he's just a phone call away and hangs up. And maybe Shane did honestly just call to check up on Cassie, see how she was doing. Or maybe the real reason that he called was to try to figure out if Cassie was involved in the murder at the bar back in Iceland, because he, along with the Icelandic police, have located Hawk's body. As soon as he gets off the phone with Cassie, he goes to a police officer showing them Megan's photo and says, this is Megan. She's likely traveling with a blonde. Get me eyes on all the airports. That's not going to help out Shane, though, because Cassie, Miranda, and Megan will be flying private. When the helicopter touches down, Cecilia is waiting for them. Miranda goes up to her because she's got a package that Cecilia has to give her. Cassie gets out of the helicopter next, and that leaves both Charlie and Megan to say their goodbyes. It's an emotional goodbye for the women, and Charlie gives Megan a necklace to remember her by. Megan immediately puts it on, but that's not the only thing that Charlie's giving her. She's giving her a bunch of money and also the poison mushrooms that she was planning on using on Hawk. You know, just in case. The women then get in their jet and head off back to the States. Miranda gives Megan her new identity. She's going to be a woman named Hildegard Buffon. We'll call her Hildy for short. She's also got them clothes so they can change and look different. Cassie assures her that Miranda knows what she's doing. Cassie's also compiled a list of things that they need to do when they get down to the States so that they can get Megan back to her family. But Megan cuts in and says, Cassie, do you know how hard it's been not being in my family for a year? It's felt like decades. And yes, I miss them and I want to see them, but do they want to see me? Do I want to even drag them back into this? Cassie assures her that they miss her and they are desperate to see her. But Megan is just freaking out at the thought. The two women then start getting caught up on what is going on in Cassie's life. Megan is extremely proud of her with AA, and she learns all about Marco. When Megan goes to sleep, Cassie then goes and talks to Miranda and thanks her for showing up, saving their ass. She needs one more favor, though. She needs to get Megan back to her family in Long Island. And as she's begging, Miranda cuts her off and says, look, I like you, but no more of this. I'm not your savior. And honestly, Long Island doesn't really fit me. The problem for Cassie is Miranda's mood completely changed after she got shot in the leg. Miranda likes Cassie. She just thinks that she has to go home and solve her own drama. That doesn't mean she didn't get her something, though. Miranda had Cecilia get Cassie a gift. It's nothing major. It's mace, a personal safety alarm, and olive oil that Miranda pressed herself. As those three women are flying back to the States, they're flying back into a mess. Back in Cassie's apartment, Max and Annie wake up to hear Gabrielle and Esteban arguing over the fact that they don't want to get screwed over by a flight attendant. The group is clearly looking for something in Cassie's apartment, and they're getting frustrated at the fact they're not finding it. When they get out of eyesight, Max starts trying to get the zip ties off of his hand, but he's caught by Esteban, who punches the crap out of him. Esteban's patience is non-existent at the moment, and he screams at them, "You need to tell us where Cassie Bowden is." Annie explains that she's on a flight, but Esteban looked at the flight records for all of the planes, and Cassie Bowden wasn't on any of them. Gabrielle actually stops Esteban from beating Max even more when she comes in and sees what's going on and says, "What are you doing? We have tools for that." And Gabrielle goes and gets those tools, showing them to Annie and Max so that Annie and Max know they're not playing games. The tool they decide to use, though, is a taser. When you turn it all the way up, the taser immobilizes you. But when you turn it down, it just hurts really bad. So that's exactly what they do, turning it all the way down and using it on Max, which works. As Max is in extreme pain, Annie thinks this is an opportune time to apologize to Max for everything that happened. She doesn't want to die having not cleared that up. And Gabrielle is so stunned that Annie is picking this time, of all times, to give this speech, that she just allows it. But Gabrielle isn't the only one who's stunned by this, so is Max. He tries to calm her down, but Annie keeps going, babbling, eventually revealing that the stress of possibly moving and getting a new job and leaving her old job with the mob is just getting to her. And when Annie brings up the mob, that catches Gabrielle's ear because she had no idea that Annie worked for that sort of thing. When Gabrielle asks about it, Annie thinks that this might be able to work in her favor, but she totally botches it. She clearly bluffs, but in doing so, she says, "Would you be intimidated by that sort of thing if you were, like, framing our friend and whatnot?" And Gabrielle is not intimidated because she can tell that Annie is lying, but she also doesn't understand what Annie means by framing. She's also sick of listening to the two, and she gets ready to taser both of them when Esteban stops her because he found something. It was the letter that Megan sent to Cassie from Iceland, so they know where Cassie is. Esteban and Gabrielle head over to the kitchen and start looking up flights to Iceland. While they're doing that, Max snaps a photo of them covertly. Gabrielle asks Esteban, should we let the North Koreans know that we have a lead? And he says no. A lead's not going to get us the bounty. We need eyes on Megan Briscoe first. And Annie, who is eavesdropping, recognizes that name. She can't figure out why these people want Megan. And she starts to wonder if they don't even want Cassie at all, if they're simply using Cassie to get to Megan. When Gabrielle and Esteban get the flight information, they head out, telling both Max and Annie that if they call the cops, they'll track them down and kill them. As soon as they leave, Annie gives Max a big hug and apologizes for taking the ring off. They then start to try to figure out exactly what this all is. What Annie can't figure out is why they blew up a car. And Max says, what if they had nothing to do with the bombing? I mean, they didn't seem that focused on Cassie at all. And that means that if Gabrielle isn't the double, then somebody else is out there pretending to be Cassie. They then start trying to get their bearings straight. But Annie notices that Gabrielle and Esteban, in their hunt for any information, went through her purse. And the problem with that is that's exactly where Annie put the ring. And she can't find it. The fact that Annie is so upset about losing the ring and the fact that she referred to it as my ring is pretty surprising to Max. But he has an idea. I mean, they are right across the way. And when Max looks out the window, their door is wide open. Annie and Max quietly head over there because they don't know if Gabrielle and Esteban had left, but they have. They start hearing a dog barking towards a closet that's closed, and when they open it, they are shocked to find an old couple tied up. They call the police and then have to wait for Cassie to touch back down so they can get a hold of her. When Cassie gets back to the States, her and Megan go through the airport, and she notices on the TV screen that there were 2 bodies that were pulled out of Echo Park that were wrapped in tarps and chains, everything that was bought with Cassie's credit card. She also notices that one of the onlookers is the guy with the bad eye from the CIA. She starts panicking. She can't really dwell on it too much, though. She has to get in an Uber and get Megan to safety. The safest place she can think of is her sponsor's house. When they arrive, she gets a phone call from Annie, and Cassie can immediately tell something's up with Annie. So Annie confesses that something weird happened with the neighbors, but she'll fill her in later. Cassie gets off the phone with Annie and goes to dump Megan off with Brenda. Brenda can tell that Cassie is going through something, and Cassie admits that she really wants a drink, but she didn't have one. Brenda explains that sobriety is never easy. Cassie then tries to go, but she has another issue because Megan doesn't want to stay there. She wants to get back to Long Island. She needs to get to that evidence before somebody else gets to it first. Cassie gives Megan the mace that she got from Miranda and tells her, you only have to stay one night. I'm going to come back tomorrow and pick you up. She then heads to go meet up with Annie and Max, and Annie and Max fill her on everything. When Max shows her the photo, Cassie immediately recognizes Esteban from Germany. But while everything points to Gabrielle being Cassie's double, Max tells them that the Echo Park murders happened right after the couple left. They couldn't have gotten there in time, so it's not them. That all but confirms that somebody else is doing this. Security camera footage, the credit card purchases, all of this looks really bad for Cassie, and she knows it. She knows what she has to do. Head to the CIA and tell somebody. When she gets there, she finds Benjamin, who has been drinking in his office alone because he's been dealing with a lot of pressure. He tells her, I'm so hard on you because I'm trying to protect you. This is dangerous work. Cassie asks him, are you okay? And Benjamin says, no. I lost 2 analysts today. Those 2 people that were killed in Echo Park, they were mine. They were murdered, and we don't have any idea why they were there or who did it. Cassie can tell that at the moment, Benjamin is in a very vulnerable place. And she recognizes it because it's somewhere that old Cassie used to live in. She sits down on the couch and starts holding his hand, and he tells her, the door's over there. And the fact that she's also going through stress and she likes to do bad things, it leads her to not getting up and walking out that door, even though she knows she should. This guy's good looking. He reeks of liquor. She gives in to temptation and ends up jumping all over him. So good on you, Benjamin. I mean, really good job. I'm jealous. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.